Greetings everyone, this is SteamTeamRedubUK, CC Trainor-Ling, here to bring you another retro review from past seasons of The Loud House. In today's video, we take a look at the Season 4 episode where Lana is told not to do something and she ends up paying for it in a big way. Today's episode is titled Game Off. First we'll discuss the plot, and then my thoughts and critiques with my final score. So, let's get right into it. The episode begins with Lana wanting to play Lincoln's new trash-based video game, but her brother tells her she has to wait until he's finished with the final level. She sneaks downstairs to play it while everyone's asleep, but accidentally loses all of Lincoln's progress, and the game is reset to the start. The sisters devise a plan to make sure their brother never finds out what happened, which includes getting him out of the house while Lana tries to get Lincoln's avatar back to where it was the day before. Unfortunately, Lincoln arrives back at the house just as Lana sadly loses the last life on the game's final level, causing Lincoln to lash out. The episode ends with the two of them reconciling after Lana gives Lincoln a tip for playing the game her brother never thought about before, and he agrees to let her help him play the game. Well, that concludes the plot of the episode, so now we come to my thoughts and critiques. Contrary to the belief that Season 4 was, quote, the beginning of the end for the series, this episode right here was a good renewal of faith. At least, I thought so. The episode is very down to earth, sort of like something you would have seen during the first season. The conflict and the way it was handled was not only authentic, but very relatable to my own childhood, and quite possibly yours too. Having grown up with a brother who liked to play video games like me, and having to share all the consoles, I saw myself as both Lincoln and Lana in this episode, although I lean more towards the latter. Much like me, Lana hated having to wait her turn to play a video game she really liked. Given her, well, you know, garbage-loving personality, it's no wonder she was excited about Total Trash Takedown. The game was stimulating and haunting her in her dreams at the same time, for crying out loud. However, just like my brother, Lincoln was playing the game first and worked 2 weeks to get to where he was. He didn't want someone who probably didn't know what they were doing to potentially mess things up and force him to start all over. Of course, that's when temptation took over, and that was Lana's downfall. She nearly got away with fixing the problem without Lincoln finding out, thanks to Lynn and Lisa helping her get back to where the game was supposed to be the day before, but she was still caught in the end. I felt bad for Lana since she was beyond stressed trying to put things right, and she came very close to making everything better again. Still, Lincoln getting mad at his little sister was perfectly understandable and a natural reaction. He told her not to play the game, but she did it anyway, and all of his hard work was wasted. My brother and I used to be in the same roles as these two, so the sibling exchange when Lincoln got home felt pretty real. However, I can't understand why Lincoln would unrealistically pause the game and leave it on overnight rather than saving it and then turning it off. One good power outage is all it would have taken to make him start at level 1 again. So yeah, not exactly a smart move on Lincoln's part if that ever happened. Still, Lana wanted to get back on Lincoln's good side by offering him some apology food, so that was a sweet moment. The ultimate deal breaker for the episode was Lana suggesting Lincoln time his jumps to the game's music so he wouldn't mess up. Lincoln never thought to do that before, and asked if Lana knew any other tips he could use to beat the game better than he did the first time. He figured Lana was truly sorry for what she did, and thought maybe she was more knowledgeable of the game than he gave credit for. Then again, he didn't have a manual telling him all the tricks he could use to play the game faster and decrease the chances of failure. Call it cheating all you want, but in the video game world, a win is a win. Am I right, LJ? Speaking of LJ, she and the rest of the sisters were very top-notch in this episode. Despite a few near misses in the beginning, their plan to keep Lincoln out of the house was very effective, and they clearly planned ahead in the off chance Lincoln finished that zombie escape room earlier than expected. I was a little surprised how quick Lori was ready to give up and drive back home after her excuse to go to the dry cleaners fell apart. Technically, she could have let Lincoln walk home, assuming it would take longer to get home by foot than by car, and that would have bought Lana more time. Even Lucy could have bought Lana another 20 minutes from the zombie escape room by intentionally getting lost. However, considering Lana ended up dying in the game before Lincoln walked through the door, she would have been found out no matter what. By the end, everything worked out for the best, and what better way for Lincoln and Lana to be on the same page again than having Lynn dump water on them. It's quite shocking when you realize no amount of liquid was enough to short-circuit that game controller. Cartoon logic, you never disappoint. Overall, this episode was great for its relatable storyline, and for teaching the lesson on having to wait your turn despite temptation. The way Lana and Lincoln were portrayed was authentic, the other Loud sisters were good team players, and everything just seemed very wholesome and, like I said earlier, down to earth with very little zany cartoon antics. I have a minor problem with Lincoln leaving his game on rather than turning it off at night, and how Lori and Lucy could have taken more control of their respective situations to stall for more time, but those instances were not enough for me to hate this episode, because I can't hate this episode. With that said, I give Game Off a 9.8 out of 10. Well folks, that concludes my review of Game Off. Compared to the other Lincoln Lana episode, Toads and Tiaras, this one was better by a long shot, and yet both of them had their feel-good moments, and there's nothing sweeter than a brother-sister relationship growing a little bit by the end. Thank you, video games, for bringing us together like you were always meant to. So what did you guys think of it? Love it? Hate it? Something you would add? Change? Keep it as it is? Let me know in the comments below. And make sure to subscribe to this channel for the latest Loud House content. That's going to do it for me. I'll catch you guys for the next video, but until then, this is SteamTeamRedubUK, CC Trainor-Ling, signing off. Peace out, home slices.